So let's look at the first syllable in tabla now. We look at the syllable na first, and it's a pretty straightforward one to play, but that's the one where it'll take some time for the sound to come up. Now, this is how you place the hand on the tabla. Look at the details. The ring finger is on the syahi, right at the edge of the syahi. I've placed it very lightly. The little finger is just adjoining it. The middle finger is up. The index finger is on the chati or the kinar, and my thumb is kind of just a addition to my finger. So it's just following the index finger. It's not a separate entity in itself. It's just a follower of the index finger. So when I need to play the na, I'll swing the hand with my ring finger and hit the index finger on the kinar or the chati. So this is the motion. Now there's a small hint of a quick lift or a rebound of my index finger, which may not be visible, but what I'm doing is in a fraction of a second, I pick my finger up, which gives the kind of tone or the sound that we are looking for. If I don't pick it up, it's going to stop the resonance, and obviously you will not get any sound from the tabla. So here are some of the basics of the na. So this is how we play it. Now, what things that generally people miss or make mistakes in is what we'll go through. One is they've got their little finger up. So some people have their little finger up. It will not matter in the sound of the tabla, but it does not look so visually great. So try to have it as close to the ring finger as possible. Don't just tightly hold it together, but you can just keep it together. The other common mistake is the ring finger going up. So what happens is in the initial period, you will not get the sound quality. So what will happen is you will get something like this. This is the sound that you will get. So what people tend to do is they'll lift the ring finger and then they'll find out that they can still get the sound. So this must be the right way to play it. However, this is not the sound that we want. So we want a sound that is and not. So the ring finger needs to be on the tabla, always on the tabla. In fact, on the syahi. So that way you will ensure that the sound is controlled, because without the control, it's going to be an open sound. The other thing is don't push it too much. So if you push it too much, obviously you're just killing the resonance. You will not let the syahi vibrate enough to get the sound that we require. Don't take the ring finger way up. Keep it at the edge of the tabla and keep it lightly so that you can actually move it around. So I can actually slide it. If I push it down, I cannot slide it. So it should be light enough that you can slide it on the tabla. So that itself is enough for controlling the sound. The other mistake that happens is the middle finger generally starts going down because you're not used to this kind of a position where the middle finger is not along with the ring finger. So generally these two fingers go together. They cannot be separated so much like these two fingers can be. So these two cannot be separated so much. So the initial way where people plays, they tend to have their middle finger going down, way down, and sometimes it touches on the syahi, and once it touches, you will just not be able to get any resonance because there are now two fingers controlling the sound. So you'll have to have your middle finger up like this. Now, again, as I said, the thumb is something that needs to be with the index finger. So it should just follow the lead of the index finger. So there are some questions like, should I keep it outside? Should I hold the kinar, or how should I keep the thumb? So the thumb is not really holding on to anything. So if my index finger moves here, my thumb is going to move. So if I move to play a thin, my thumb moves along with my index finger. It's not tight enough that it is an entity in itself. So it's just a follower and it's pretty light that I've kept. So this is how it's going to work. Now with all these rules, the probability is that in the initial period you will not get any sound from the na. And as you can see, when I'm swinging my finger, I'm actually keeping it down, but there's just a hint of rebound that I'm doing. So if I exaggerate that movement, in a fraction of a second, I'm lifting my finger, which gives that sound. Now, it's not necessary that you're going to get it because in the initial period, it will take some time for you to get this sound. But don't forget these rules, because what happens is in short term you'll be able to get the sound like this, but this is not na. So you'll need to be cautious enough to not make these mistakes and still continue hitting it, even though you cannot get the right kind of sound from the na. You continue in this motion and keep these basics right. Eventually you will get a better sound of the from the na. So that's about the first syllable, that is na. Now you might want to pause the video and practice this for, let's say, 5 or 10 minutes and just try to get the muscles accustomed to this new motion that you have learned. So just pause the video and try to play the na. Let's look at the second syllable. Now this syllable is called as a ge and is played on the dagga. So how is a ge played? The wrist should be just behind the syahi on the dagga, just behind the syahi. Your hand should be like the hood of a snake. So cobra, the hood of a snake. So this is how your hand should be. And the fingers should be relaxed. They should not be way together and they should not be too far out. So relaxed and together. And then you hit with the middle finger as good as hitting with the nail, not the front part, because then you will not be able to get the sound. Not this part. So not this part. It's nearly the nail that you're going to hit it with. So ensure that your nails are cut, because otherwise it will damage the face of the tagga. So when you hit it, you will hit it with the middle finger. So this is gay. So how am I playing it? I'm lifting my hood up and getting it down while I am hitting on the dagga. Now I'm hitting it on the smaller section of the dagga, which is called as the law of the dagga, and keeping my hand on the bigger section of the dagga, which is called as the Maidan. So I'm placing my wrist just behind the syahi. Again, the same concept. I'll need to pick the finger, rebound the finger in a fraction of a second. Otherwise, I'll not be able to get the sound. Otherwise, it will be this sound that I'll get, which I don't want. The other way, or the second finger, which can also play the gay, is the index finger. So you generally alternate between these two fingers. Middle finger, index finger, middle finger, index finger. Now both these hits are called as gay. They are not called different. So gay or ghe, this is the way it is played. Now again the same problem, the middle finger and ring finger, they go together really. So there are some people who use both these fingers and then the index finger so both these and index, both these and index to play the gay. That should be fine. That should not be trouble. As long as you can get the same kind of sound. So it should not be that this one hit sounds really loud and the index finger one does not. So as long as you can manage the sound, it should be okay. Just remember that you need to rebound and play with nearly your nails the tip of the nails, and that is where you will get the sound. So this is called as the gay or the gay. Before we can move to the next syllable, you can maybe pause the video and just keep practicing the gay for some time. The next letter is tha. Now the tha is just a combination of two things. So what we are going to do is we are going to play the na on the tabla and the ge on the dagga with the middle finger. So these together are called as dha. So this is dha that I'm playing. Try to ensure that they coincide with each other. It should not be not this way. It should be a single hit, a single sound that should come when both of them hit. So it should be coordinated and should hit and coincide with each other. So the next letter that we learn today is the tin. So the tin is played on the low. You actually slide your hand forward. So I'm sliding my hand from my na position, and remember the ring finger is placed lightly, so I can actually slide it on top of the tabla. And while I'm sliding it, I will lift my finger up and throw it. So I've got another option. I can swing it like the na. However, for the na, only the tip of my finger is used like this, not the entire finger. Whereas for the tin, most of my finger is used. It is not just the tip of the finger. So since it's the entire finger, I cannot do this and try to get a sound. I can, but that is because I'm just used to playing for a long time. So what you will need to do is you need to throw your finger like this. Slide the hand forward and throw your finger like this on the low. The rest of the rules remain the same. Thumb is following the index finger, middle finger is up, ring finger is still on the syahi, and the little finger is along with the ring finger. Now this is called as a tin. Don't worry if you do not get the right sound right now, but follow the rules that I've mentioned and you should be good enough in some time after you practice. The other thing that you would want to learn today is the dhin or the dhi, and that is played again like the dha with a combination of these two. So a ge on the dagga and a tin on the tabla will give you a dhin. So this is a dhin. Remember, it's a throwing motion and not a swing like the na. This and not this. Try to take these pauses in between because as you learn it, you would want to give at least 5-10 minutes for each of the syllable, though it feels pretty monotonous. 5 or 10 minutes of practice right when you learn it will enable you to remember what you've learned, and you will be able to recollect it when you want to practice it later on. If you're just starting out, try to practice these syllables for at least half an hour. Take 5 minutes for each syllable and you can practice it. That is one way of practicing it. Or maybe you can pick a small tal and then you can do the practice. Let's look at another syllable today, which is called as the tin or the ti. So the tin will be played again like the din. However, you will have a flat hit on the dagga. So very similar like the tin here. You can also add the dagga to it to give it a more fuller feel. So tin or ti is also played like this with the dagga. All right, so this is also thin. So there is you can skip the dagga if you want, but if you add it, that can make it more fuller. All right, so that's ti or thin that you can play ti. Just a flat hit on the dagga is called as a K. So you just close your fingers together and hit it really hard. So don't keep it open like this. It has to be flat. Now this syllable is called as a K or a K. So the syllables that we have learned so far are the na, ge, ke, tin, tin, dhin, and dha. So these are the syllables that we have learned so far. In the future sessions, what we'll do is we'll try to combine these together and play a single tal out of it. So we'll combine these variations and create a tal out of it, and we'll discuss what is a tal in the next session.